and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to our Sunset Safari Drive. Today all the way from Juma Game Reserve in South Africa, and my name is David, and with me today on the camera is VM. And you might wonder what I have been doing there. I've been trying to get some flowers. I don't know that anybody has heard of flowers that grow underground. And what has happened here is the season is not right to get any flowers. And all the flowers I wanted to get were to send to all of you nice mothers, wherever you are in the world, and wish you a very happy Mother's Day. Right, VM? So VM agrees with me. To all of you, happy Mother's Day. And so sorry I couldn't get any flowers anywhere. It's not the right season for flowers. I tried to dig some flowers down there. I did not get any. My apologies for that, but please accept our very nice wishes for the happy Mother's Day today. All right, I'm not alone today out on safari. I'm joined by my other brother by the name of James, who will be driving like me, and I'm also joined by Raf Casti, who will be doing a bit of walking. Remember, this is a very interactive safari drive where we need you to engage us with your questions and comments. It's nice temperature today, 26 degrees and about 79 degrees Fahrenheit, so not bad to find out who could be out there for us. I got a mission today. Tingana was spotted early this morning by one girl by the name of Taylor, and I'm trying to see whether we're going to find him where she left her. One more time, welcome, and be with us for the remaining part of the drive. Okay. All right. So as I said, we got a mission, and see if we're going to find Tingana, who we have come to fall in love with. And one of the other gentlemen would like to say hello to you and find out how his face looks like today after he did a bit of warm thing this morning, or caterpillar rather.
There's a crested barbet up there, Craig. I could not say the name of the bird to Craig, poor old Craig, because of course David was talking about me and worms. I didn't really understand it until I remembered this morning. Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday Sunset Safari. There goes the crested barbet, you saw it flying away. My name is James Hendry. And of course we have got Batman on camera today. Well done, Batters. That was his thumb whizzing past like a bat's wing. Please do talk to us using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, otherwise the chat stream on YouTube. We'd love to have any questions or comments that you might have on this rather subdued Sunday. I say subdued Sunday on account of the fact that I have yet to find anything more than an impala. Well, we found wildebeest this morning as well, but hopefully we're going to have something with fur and claws today. I hope. That would be marvellous. It's a lovely afternoon. It's warmish. 26 degrees Celsius or so, 79 Fahrenheit, I'm told. I think it's going to cool down quite substantially as we go towards the winter. The winter? No. It will get cooler towards the winter. I meant the evening, though. We won't be driving continuously until the winter. We will be going home for supper before that time. Good. I'm sorry we missed that crested barbet, because it was quite possibly the most colourful thing that we'll see. Okay, now look here. I am tired of talking about my hat. Ghost Rider, I know my hat looks tattered, okay? I know it does. Look at it. It looks tattered. I gave my new hat to Ralph. That's why Ralph has a new hat. I bought a new hat for myself, and Ralph is now wearing it. That is why my hat is tattered. And I have ordered another one. I unfortunately ordered a book with the other one in the post, and the book they didn't get until now, which means it's only going to be delivered in 2 weeks. If it is offending you so appallingly, then I shall buy another one that won't fit me, and I'll look silly. Thank you, Luke. Luke says he thinks it's got character. Ghost Rider, you are correct, though. I mean, in all fairness, I must admit that it's a scrappy-looking hat, and it does need to be replaced. Yeah. No, really, I mean, it is a little tired. Yeah. Oh, Michelle, thank you. You say my hat is perfect, just like me. At least you don't have to look at that all the time. My bald head. There was a time when I started this job that I was unable to take my hat off in front of the camera, so ashamed was I of my male pattern baldness. But you have all been so nice to me over the years that I now know that you will accept me for who I am. Just like my mother does. And I need to say that, of course, because my birthday. It seems like a slightly ridiculous opening segment, but there it is. Now, let us hope for something in these clearings. A sounder of water pigs. Yes, I think that this is a very good topic of discussion while we look towards that crowned lapwing over there and a hornbill. Good grief, 2 species, and even some starlings over here. Tingana sawing this morning. I was extremely excited when I heard that. In fact, I got slight goosebumps when I heard that the old fellow was back, telling everybody that he was feeling much better than he had been, and that Hukumori had better watch out. That is the crowned lapwing, in case you were wondering. And there we have a red-billed hornbill. Marvellous. Well, we'll keep looking around here, the northwestern corner. I'm not sure where else we're going to go, probably the far east as well, maybe down to Chitwa, depending on what David finds. On the subject of David, let's go and see if he's found his leopard that he's in love with.
Yes, I got a mission today, and a very big mission, because having our tailor spotted Tingana this morning, that makes my life easier. And I got a feeling in my heart we'll have to see Tingana. Of all the leopards I've been seeing here since I got the car, Tingana in a way has touched my heart. I mean, his walking style, his size, the broad hair that he got, the dewlap, that he has. I mean, all these features makes me think he's a pretty special, cool leopard. And above all, I love the name. I could be wrong, but I think, if I remember very well, I was told Tingana means shy. I think that's a local language. Tingana means being shy. And to me, he looks very bold, He looks very bold. A few times where my eyes came in contact with his on one-to-one, he looked at me and I gave him an eye. And as I've been saying, the talking of leopards in Kenya is very different from here. Every time he would look at me, my eyes would slowly go away like that. As much as every camera operator told me, David, relax. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing gonna happen. So let me see how my body language will be today, how far my eyes will try to deviate from his gorgeous eyes, and I'll give you my own personal feeling by the end of my visiting with Tingana. It's not very far from where we are. VM, let me know where to turn from. We should go to the right. So we'll turn to the right, and from this point, go upwards and go to what we call the Murumati River, which was told Murumati means fighting waters. Right here. So we start our search right from where we are. Do you think we stop there? Okay, so we're gonna go in from here. Okay, now I got my low ratio just to make sure all goes well, and that gives my car more torque. And let's see Tingana. Here David comes. We need to avoid some of these stones here by the trees. Some are huge and they're like nails, and they could easily give you a flat tire. You don't want to change your tire when you're so close to a big boy like Tingana, eh? Whitehall, you're asking whether the rain is expected here for the next 2 days, this time of the year. And we're talking of the same subject earlier with VM, and he told me he doesn't see any rain coming here the next few weeks. What do you reckon, VM? Rains, what time do you expect?
Last year we had rains and stuff.
Well, VM tells me there was some rains this time around last year, so it could happen. But I can tell you, if you want, Whitehall, to talk about rains, you go to Kenya, you'll see what rains are there. So, yeah, VM tells me it might not. We just cross fingers. And sometimes the weather in Africa has been very erratic the last couple of years. So the time we expect rain, it doesn't come. And the time we don't expect rain, we get flooding. And like what's happening in Kenya now is something we have not seen in very many years. So this is where Tingana was spotted this morning by Taylor. We slowly want to keep our eyes going 180 degrees left to right and find out whether he could be hiding and waiting for me to reintroduce myself again all the way from Kenya. And you never know. Raf Casti would like to say hello to all of you in the meantime.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the afternoon bushwalk. We're coming to you live on foot from the Djuma concession of the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got Davy. Davy, how's it, Davy? Now, please don't forget to join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Join us on this interactive bushwalk. Now, the idea this afternoon, I've actually taken a vehicle and driven out, and then we're walking from there because I wanted to get a little bit away from camp and just access a couple of different areas that I haven't walked before. And the idea has been to come to an area where I've seen quite a bit of leopard activity. I've also seen quite a bit of hyena activity in a similar area too. So we've come just to the east of Twin Dams, and I'm thinking this might be the perfect area for us to possibly go through some of these blocks, maybe catch up with some fresh tracks of Tandi and Tlalamba. That's a possibility, and also maybe get some clues in on whether there's any hyena dens around here on this side. Now you can see a bit of the terrain. It's almost like you get these watershed areas because we go up quite a bit and sort of to our west from here, leading all the way down to Twin Dams and the Umlolwati sort of drainage system. But as we go up now, it's heading to the watershed area, and all this part would probably be heading down towards that particular drainage system. But on the sides here, we've got a lot of marulas and perfect area for leopards. And I know that there's also a lot of termite mounds around here, so both leopard and hyena, potentially excellent area for them. So we'll be looking out for that, and as I say, just coming to a new area for me, on foot, away from the road. We can access the block and see what has been moving through on these game paths, etc. So I've just seen one of the little francolins jumping out in front of us. You know, we do call him the heart attack bird, especially out on foot. And speaking of birds, it seems James also has one to show you.
Are we live? Are we live? Oh, we didn't hear that we were going to go live. Sorry about that, everybody. We were sitting here with some magpie shrikes, and they have now absconded. unfortunately, and if I go back towards where they've gone, I think we'll lose signal almost immediately. We're on the northern boundary, so let me continue forward. Oh, there's a Swainson's Franklin. Why don't we do that one? Swainson's spurfowl, can you see it there? It's going behind that guarri bush. You'll just see some movement there with its red face. There, no. Oh, let me move forward. Oh dear. There it is. You see it there, Craig. And the magpie shrike. Now, what I was trying to do before we went live by mistake was look these things up in my app so that I might tell you something I have never told you before about them. Now, they're probably one of the less common ones that we have here. And we will do our best while we look at the other small things to find you a dwarf mongoose. So as you can see, this chap's eating seeds. Apparently they also eat tubers, berries, insects in the summer. Most birds, despite what their beaks might tell you, will eat insects in the summertime when they can, full of fat and nutrition and protein. And seldom in flocks, as far as I'm aware. Yes, usually in pairs or small family parties. Bold and conspicuous, it says they are. Well, that's quite exciting. Oh, what's also quite interesting is that they drink twice a day. So they drink morning and evening if they can, and that's quite interesting. So I suppose you wouldn't find them in very deserty areas, but you do find lots of other francolins in very dry desert areas. But obviously not the Swainsons. Good, on we go. You seem to be belching a rather disturbing amount of gas into the air. I mean the car, not Craig or I. Hello, James. No, I'm afraid I haven't. And we do have our inside man at Chitwa. That's Dylan Leo Smith, Brent's brother. And Dylan will keep us posted on Guchava and her cub. I think you'll probably find that they're in the northern parts of Mala at the moment, which borders on, I think it's, what is the one below there? Is it Annette's? Or something like that. There's one very slim slither of land between Chitwa and Mala, and I think you'll find that she's just coming on to Chitwa every so often and then spending her time further south of that area, which I think is quite interesting. Slowly, Craig, there is this virtual starling. I find that quite strange because I don't know what other females there are in that area, but for the fact that Tandy used to spend time, most of her time, in the Chitwa area, which now seems to be almost devoid of female leopards. Wonderful sighting of the Birchall's starling. Common as you like, but seldom do we get a great sighting of them in good light like this. Nor do we get them singing solos. This one is giving a wonderful aria. Ooh, and a little glutinous dump. Fantastic. Now sharpening the beak. That picture is made infinitely less attractive by that thing that's now dripping down in a string. Yes, I'm suddenly not that fond of my virtual starling sighting. The voice is spectacular. Wow, that was very nice. Alrighty, we'll continue along the northern boundary. David has something else interesting, I believe, to tell you.
Well, good luck on that side, and we are still where Tingana was spotted this morning, and we are trying to fight through the Tamboti trees or the bush willows and keeping our eyes as big and as open as of an owl, just to find out we don't miss any bush, because you imagine now it's a bit warm. If he decides to go flat on the ground, I can tell you we can't see him. So we need a slight movement of him for us to be able to spot him. And we have to comb the whole of this area as long as it will take us, until maybe we either see him flick a tail or flick an ear if we are lucky, or he decides to wake up and say, "Jumbo, David." This is the area where he was left. I tell you, leopards could be here, and then the next minute they're gone. So no guarantee that, because this is where Taylor left him, he'll still be here. He would have easily thought of going to look for food, go for a drink, and will not come back to where he was. We keep going forward, VM. And the search, I tell you, will continue, and let's find out what the bushwalk have for us.
Thanks, Dave. Well, we don't have anything just yet, everybody, but, well, it's also such a fantastic afternoon. It's a lovely warm autumn's day, but there's a little bit of a breeze, and so it's very comfortable at the moment. And, well, we always come up top, just check up from a termite mound, a nice high raised area, just to see if we can see or hear any animals in the vicinity. I think just off from where we are here, there's a lovely drainage line that's heading down towards the Mlolwati. I think that's definitely worth a little peek down there. And we've got a nice big game path leading off from this termite mound. So, well, for me today, it's just a bit of a path of discovery. I'm just, no plan, just heading off, hopefully find some predator activity. But as I say, no real plan per se, or animals. I know that Tandi Tlalamba have been hanging around here. Casey, you can follow a river upstream if you are lost, but what you want to do is, I would probably more so go downstream, but that's just my choice. So careful there, David. He's fallen in a bit of a aardvark burrow, I think. So I would rather go downstream, because for me, the further downstream you go with the river, the more water you're going to have, and possibly the more people might be around that watercourse. So I would go downstream. And if you are looking for water, you're always going to be looking in the bend, digging in the areas down there. That's where water normally collects, near to the rocks. Now, we're going to head down into that drainage system, and then just check around and see if there's any leopards hanging around in those trees. And we'll just take it nice and slowly. If there are predators down there, because of the heat that we've had at the moment, I'm just grabbing some wild basil here. Always good to make the hands smell nice, lovely. So because of the heat, they might be resting up in the shade, and so we just need to keep on looking in front of us and look for any heads that just pop up with their ears flicking as we come towards them. So we're always just listening ahead, and the animals, if we do get too close, will always warn us with a bit of a warning sign, whether it's a growl or if we hear elephants breaking some branches. At least we can pick it up early and then plan our approach, or not. But we want to try and pick up the animals, if there are any here, nice and early, so that we can make the decisions before we get there, and before there's a critical situation that we need to just react, you know. We want to be proactive. So we just walk through the bush nice and slowly, nice and carefully, listening as we go. Sometimes just stop and listen. It's just the starlings calling at the moment. It's nice and cool, one of those hot afternoons. Now, a dyed monkey, yes, well, you could be avoiding predators, but, you know, I've spent so many years out here in the bush that, you know, for me it's really interesting to find predators on foot in their natural environment. We don't want to disturb them, that's not the idea. The idea is just to view them in their natural habitat, especially if they don't even realize that we're here, and then we exit without them even knowing. So lovely, nice, shaded area coming up just in front here. So we're going to skirt around dyed monkey. We're not going to just go charging in and, you know, and try and find where these predators are. We just take it nice and slowly, and just want to see if there's anything around that we can, you know, enjoy in the natural environment. And what more could you ask from being in the bush than experience wild animals, especially predators, on foot? You know, we can also experience bigger animals like elephants and so on, and it's all very exciting. So, speaking of those big animals, it seems like James has found you an animal digging in one of their dung.
This is a particularly difficult dung digging session at this time of the year. But as we go towards winter and things are dry, less and less for him to look for and eat in there. I must confess, what a way to make a living, eh? Come, let's go to the new dung pile on Mvubu Road and see if we can find a couple of beetles in it. I think he rejected whatever he'd picked up there. So there could be dung beetle larvae and eggs and all that sort of thing in this kind of dung. Also termites in slightly older dung. You might find a few, or he's definitely finding something in amongst there. But you can see why now, when we drive along the road and suddenly you find these piles that are no longer constituted as balls. This is why. The 4 or 5 balls of this particular offering have now been chopped up. I think we have a comment from somebody called Post Friday. Is that right? Post Friday? Loving the birding, saying, so cool. Toast cider, not Post Friday then. Toast cider. Oh, coast, right? Right, coast cider. Coast cider, not toast cider. Coast cider. Yes, oh, I'm sorry about that. Coast cider. Now I'm getting it in the ear from Luke. Slight hint of sarcasm. You know, when they get here, they're all but nervous of the presenters. Well, it takes them about 4 days to start hitting us with a whole lot of sass. I suppose we deserved. Well, Sinak, I think, like I was saying, I think what he's looking for is grubs and beetles and possibly even fly larvae that are in the dung. But he's going to struggle at this time of the year to find anything like that there. He also, I mean, they're omnivorous, so they will eat things like guarri berries. So if he finds a half-digested guarri berry, he might try and eat that. Anyway, now he's fastidiously cleaning off his beak on account of the, well, probably foul aftertaste of whatever he's eaten out of the elephant's dung. I'll just confirm with you, just to show you how omnivorous they are. I'll read you a list of all of the things that they have been recorded eating. It's probably sort of 2 things, but I'm pretty sure that it's a large amount of stuff. Right, most food items taken from ground, many by digging with bill in loose soil detritus or herbivore droppings. Well, we've seen that, haven't we? No, 35% and 65% of wet and dry season food items, respectively, in herbivore droppings. So I'm talking nonsense. They're saying here that in herbivore droppings, they are more likely to find their food in the dry season. I suspect that's because there's so few insects anywhere else. Anyway, they will prey on foot or hawk insects, largely insects, beetles, ants, termites, flies, eggs, larvae, other larger arthropods, grasshoppers, centipedes, termites, alates, sometimes even nestling birds. Phew, I've just seen rarely eat small seeds and fruits, e.g. of the shepherd's tree. So don't eat a lot of fruits then. So definitely not looking for guarri berries in amongst that dung. I think what we should probably do then is go and look in the dung ourselves. What do you say, Craig? Are you excited to go and rummage around in the dung? So let me just clarify what that said there. It said it is often looks through dung, right? And it gets 65% of its dry season forage. I mean, obviously that's not every single bird in every single area, but in the Limpopo province, which is where we are here, it gets 65% of its dry season forage from a dung pile like this one. Well, let's see what it says here. Car's not moving, is it? It is. All right. So if you want to link away, you just tell Craig. So what we've got ants, lots of ants. There are actually lots and lots of little beetles and things in here, tiny little things. What else? I'll try and catch you a beetle. Ooh. Let me just bring you this piece. Why is this car moving? So it is still quite moist. It's pretty disgusting at this stage of its existence. Can you see the things crawling around in there, Craig? As I break it open. So just look, focus there. There's a beetly. Yeah? You see that black beetly? Yes? On next to my finger? You can't see it on your screen, but maybe they can see it there. There are lots of things, actually. Every time I break open a thing, a whole lot of other things crawl inside. So this is not that fresh. I mean, it's been here probably a few hours. It's cold, but it's still moist. So there's lots in there for that hornbill to eat. And I guess the reason that the dry season forage is made up so extensively by hornbill or by elephant dung is that that's often the only moisture that there is for the invertebrates to get into. Very interesting. Very interesting. Right, are you ready? You carry on? A slightly niffy smell of elephant dung now pervades around the car. It is delicious when it is of the right vintage. It needs to be about a week old before it's really pleasant. That's a couple of hours old, so it's not quite as pleasant. Well, while I have been looking at the ridiculous, David has found the sublime.
Well, James, I'm sure you know, it's not only the hornbills that will feed on dung of particular herbivores. Even leopards have known to be scrapping and going through dungs of buffaloes or ellies and trying to feed on things we do not know. But I would guess they feed on beetles inside those dungs. And finally, look who we got there. We got the Duke himself, Mr. T. And I think he is enjoying his catnap, as most cats would do. People have always thought it's only lions that will sleep, but even leopards, given the right conditions, will also enjoy some very good nap, especially in the middle of the heat of the day when the temperatures are high, like now. Quite a location, and who'd ever know that this leopard was there? having not forehand information. Mercy, thank you for having followed me from yesterday and the day before, saying go, 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 David, leopard, leopard, Tingana, Tingana. Thank you very much, Mercy. And I would say, yes, way to go. I got Tingana right there for you. Please enjoy viewing it. And what a cool cat he is, eh? I think after all the frustration I had trying to get flowers to all the ladies, to all the nice lady viewers, including my wife, and getting you some flowers for the Mother's Day, I think Tingana is making up my frustration. Like, David, don't worry. I know you tried hard to please all the ladies with the flowers. You didn't get any. I'll be here, and I think my appearance is going to spice up their beautiful and big day today. I just want to thank Tingana for at least being there. Not once you will leave a car to one place and you drive and you backtrack half an hour later, not trace, and the cat will be gone. And more so to the leopards. You can see a little irritation there, either from flies or something, but I would guess he is just enjoying some nice nap. He is facing us. You can see the whiskers. And quite a nice location. It could be a bit cool where he is. You don't see him panting as we saw him the other day, when you could see the panting either from the neck and even from the tummy area. He's like breathing very quietly now. Well, age could be another element. Tingana rock music, you're asking by not panting means he is not hungry. I would say no and yes. Yes, in the sense that if where he is, to me what I can see, he got very good shade where he is. And that's like a little drainage area. And more often than not, drainage areas will carry water when it rains. So I would say the ground where he is a bit cool. And that's why he's very relaxed there and not panting. He could be hungry also because, and when he could be rather full. When they're full, they tend to pant a lot. Because what would happen if it got so much food in it and the digestion is going on at the same time? So that one also raises the levels of panting. So yes, it could be either. But to me, that belly looks fine. But I think he chose a great spot to rest. The ground is cool, nice shade from the tree cover, the bushes he is under there. And you can see just small little speck of him that's like getting direct sun. The rest of it, it's very well shaded. And the movement, apart from the ears that you see flicking here and there, he looks fine. Vera, a good question, and you're asking how much would Tingana weigh? Tingana at 12 years, just from my look, I would say he is anything 60 to 70 kilograms. 60 to 70 kilograms, I would say almost 150, 160 pounds, give or take. That's my estimate. To me, he looks a big boy. And the massive, dewlap, big head, I would give him an estimate of about 70 kilos or 150, 155, 160 pounds in weight. In general, males tend to weigh, they are more heavier than the females. Ashley, you would like to know if the leopards here are bigger than the leopards in Kenya. Actually, I would say, incidentally, what I found out, they are practically the same in any form or in any shape. I've been looking at them the last 3 weeks. They're exactly the same, Ashley. Size, I would say color, the pattern of their rosettes, exactly the same. Behavior, how they go for food, and the prime number one food being impalas. Ashley, I would say the leopards here and the leopards in Kenya, exactly the same. And also they're the same species. But very good question there, because I'm sure actually you've been following me doing parallels and comparisons of the animals here and the animals in Kenya, the animals we get in Kenya, the animals we don't get there that are here. Yes, for the leopards, same in everything. We'll just be looking up and waiting to see if he'll wake up as it cools. He might decide, go get some. Oh, nice. Speak of the devil, he turns a little bit. Tingana, you want to turn the other side? All right, that was not bad. We know you are there, kicking and doing well. That's a good sign. And he might decide to go get some dinner for himself or go have a drink or a little stretch. We are in no rush. And the gentleman who is walking have some update for us.
Well, everyone, I've got lots of things to show you, but I'm down here in the little drainage line that's heading towards the Mlwati. We're not too far away from where Tingana is, and I just want to show you a couple of things that grow down here in these riverine type areas next to the water. Well, you know, it looks dry here, but I guarantee you there's water below the surface, one of these little drainage lines, and we often get these kind of spike thorns down here, lots of them next to the riverine, the edges of the riverbeds, and always also Tamboti thickets. We've been walking through a whole forest of Tambotis, and I was just saying that if I had to camp out here in the bush, I would definitely be camping underneath some Tambotis, because you normally have a very clear surface underneath there. The elephants like it because it's also very clear, and so they've often flattened it nicely as well. But look at this, walking through the riverine system here, we find all sorts, not only fascinating vegetation, but also some of the thicket animals that like walking through the bush, and Nyala being one of them. You can generally get quite close to them on foot. They're not as skittish as a lot of the other animals may be. And in fact, we found them around our bush camps. They almost become tame. And they can often be in and around the tents, especially when there's lions in the area. They almost know that it's safer to be around humans and a little camp than be out in the bush where the lions would quite easily grab them. And we often knew when the Nyala were all banded together in little groups inside the camp, we knew that there were lions around. But this one just happily browsing through the bushes there. And you can see he's got those nice white tips on the end of his horns. That does indicate he's getting to be an older bull in his prime, as they start getting to that length and that color on the tip. You can see quite selective though as he feeds, taking off the exact leaves that he wants. He's also got quite a black tongue, similar to the giraffe, but obviously not as long and thick. And we had the poll this morning, which antelope is the most elegant. The kudu won, with the Nyala coming in second and the bushbuck third. But, I mean, when you look at Nyala like this in their natural environment, they are very pretty as well, hey? Sinek, I'm going to now actually look around for some xerophytic plants for you, okay? So stick around and I will try my best to show you. But it's wonderful. It's so quiet down here. There's hardly a breath of wind. There's a little bit of clouds around at the moment, and it's just wonderful to be down in such a quiet area, almost silent. The silence is almost deafening, but I think we should move on a little bit and have a look around the corner here. Now, coast cider, yes, that little face marking, they've got all sorts of glands here on their forehead, and they will be marking bushes and things, quite like the impalas horning bushes. You have the duiker and things like the topi, the hartebeest with the preorbital glands. They also wipe that hormones on different bushes, etc. So it's all in aid of marking a territory. So you wouldn't find per se non-territorial animals marking and scent marking like that. It's mostly your territorial animals, like your wildebeest as well. They also mark with their feet. They'll make big scratch marks, and they also roll in that area, defecate, urinate, etc., and trying to mark their little patch of the bush. So we're coming up here. So as I said, we're not too far from where David is with Tingana, but we're going to loop around now and check out some of the other areas of this particular drainage line, a little bit further towards the north. But while we try and pick up some tracks and things, let's head you back to David with Tingana.
Yes, and the Duke Tingana T himself still enjoying the nap there, and he just turned a bit and faced the other side, then turned facing us. And what you're looking or hoping is that he might have a bit of more movement than before. You can see the head there. So he initially turned. Very good job there. Good work there. Good camera work there. He faced the other side, and you can see now we have a better view than before. So he moved his head a little bit out over the branch that he got on his head, and that sometimes could be an indication maybe he's getting close to him wanting to wake up and move. And as we were talking about leopards in Kenya and in South Africa, I think we had a viewer by the name of Ashley. Just also wanted to let you know we also got not a different species of leopards in Kenya, but if you go to the very high elevation areas in Kenya, around Mount Kenya area, and another area that is called the Aberdare Ranges, if you look on your map, you can see central Kenya. We are talking of elevation of about 7,000 meters above sea level, very, very high. We got leopards there that are dark in color. You might mistake them for jaguars or say pumas. They are dark and they do not have any spots on them. And you might think they're different subspecies. But they're the same leopards, but they tend to be dark in color because of where they live, and the darkness is just a color hybrid that enhances their stalking abilities. That way, when they are so dark, it's very difficult for the prey to spot them. But they're just the same species like the other leopards we see in Mara and where we are. And we got something that the leopard Tingana might want to eat sometimes.
Well, he'd be very lucky to get one of these things. This is a bristling Nyala, and he's now bristling at the Nyala behind him. Just indicating that he, woof, and the tail is up, skunk style, indicating that he is not to be trifled with lightly. I got something about aloes, cactuses, and Ralph. I'm not sure what that meant from the final control. Can we have that again, please, Luke? I'm just going to reverse slightly. I'm just quickly going to talk to David while we look at this. David, that was Aubrey saying he would like to come in only if Tingana gets moving, so just keep him posted on whether Tingana gets moving or not. Alrighty, so he's now past the ambit of the other male Nyala, which means that he can put his mantle down, his skunk tail back between his legs, and can move stiffly on to find something to eat. He looks like he's moving stiffly, doesn't he? They all look like that until you see them run. And it really is quite astonishing how fast they are. Anyway, here we find ourselves at the at the Gari Dam or Vuyatela Dam. And there's no water there at all, but there is a little pan that those impalas go to, Nyalas go towards. And during the drought, we had some immensely wonderful action around there. We had everything. Buffalo, hippopotamus, and giraffe. Now a few of you asking about why his hair was up on edge like that. I'm sorry, I should have explained that immediately. Let's go a little bit closer and I'll explain. Basically, Nyalas and most animals out here will try and avoid physical contact if they can, because obviously, or physical conflict if they can, because it can result in injury, and being injured out here is not great because medical care is less than, well, it's probably better than it is in most of rural South Africa, but it's still not very good. And so what they do is they have this display where they put their mantles up, and if you watch this chap, he's going to do it again when he comes into the ambit of this other male. He's going to put that white mantle up on the back of his back. You'll see him now erecting it. And then what he'll do is ruffle the hair out on his tail and stick his tail up as well. And what that does to the other male is display. I'm not sure exactly what it says. It says something about dominance. It says something about I'm big and ready to fight if you want to fight. And then the other male will sometimes back off, or he'll do the same thing. And then they'll go through this elaborate kind of dressage, pas de deux, or duet. And they'll walk around each other for a while, and somehow they decide that one is bigger and stronger than the other. And then they split apart. But very seldom they will be unable to sort their differences out with this little balletic Tai Chi dance, and then they will fight. And the fights are quite spectacular to watch. Yes, Project Alpha, you're absolutely right. We get pilo erections exactly the same as these Nyala do, but for slightly different reasons. So it's the same same neurological response and muscular response as goosebumps, basically. It's what causes the hair to stand up. I think it's more voluntary, though, with these animals. And in fact, with most animals that get their backs up, if you like, that get the hair up on their backs. I don't think we can do it nearly as voluntary as they can. But that is a very good point. Well, I think that it's quite possible that the desire for dwarf mongoose is now about to be met.
Well, everyone, I just wanted to stop here because these look like they could be harvester ants, but I'm not quite sure exactly what they are doing. We can see that there's a lot of workers all busy working what, I'm not quite sure, but there's one or two or three or four soldiers here as well, and it's just a nice spot to be able to indicate the difference that we could see between workers and the soldiers. But I'm trying to work out what they are actually up to. There seems to be some kind of pupa that they've brought to the surface, as we can see with that at the end of my stick there, as they all go to protect it. It's probably pupa of theirs. I don't think that they've stolen it from anybody else. But then there's also, for instance, a little bit further back, over here, we have a lovely soldier, just at the tip of my stick over there, and a much bigger ant in himself. And I don't know what they're doing with these soldiers. And every now and then they just get a vibration or a little bit of air flowing over them, and they all sort of rush around and they actually make a bit of a noise, and it's like and that's quite similar to the matabili ants, which are raiding ants. They steal all sorts from different termite colonies and other ants as well, but these ones making a very similar noise to them as well. Now, this is the kind of thing that we do start to see, especially around this time of year. Now, Paula, these are actually very small little ants. If I put my hand next to them, we do get smaller red ants. I'm not going to put my hand all the way on the ground because they might bite me, and I don't want to disturb them. But we do get smaller little red ants, and these ones are more so like the harvester ants, I believe. And what I was saying is that around this time of year and heading into winter, we're going to start to see less and less invertebrates and insects and activity on the ground and little nests like this. But the ants keep us entertained right through winter. So we need to start looking at all the different kinds of ants that we find around here as well, because they're going to continue where everything else is quiet and dormant or in the egg phase or whatever. So the aardvark also start to eat them more. Now, actually, I'm going to exhibit what these little ants use as a defense mechanism. Now, I want Davy just to look onto them, and I'm going to blow. Just watch here. You see that? Okay, if you're watching there nice and closely, watch here. Okay, there's a little bit of running down towards the hole, and there's a few that are all just sitting waiting at the edge of the nest, and I'm pretty sure that if you tapped there or there was danger, the soldiers would all come out. Now, I'm wondering if these soldiers have actually been injured as a result of some kind of attack that they have had, and this is the sort of the end of it, that they're just checking up on all their dead and injured and wounded. I'm not quite sure. That's why we've happened upon this, and there is all sorts happening, but I wonder if they've been raided or if they've been off raiding. You know, you have quite a lot of these raiding type parties with ants as well. And then when they raid, they want to be taking the little pupa and things that we've been seeing there, and they'll be bringing it back to their nest, possibly for food, which is what the Matabele ants do. Maybe there was a raiding party of Matabele ants that came through here. Who knows? But there's definitely some wounded and injured warriors or soldiers over there, and the workers seem to all be trying to help out. I don't know if they're putting them out of their misery, maybe chopping their heads off and getting them finished with the job, so that they might be reusing them as food. You know, it's not past ants to do that. Everyone is sacrificed for the greater good of the colony, and well, it's almost like Vikings, isn't it? It's incredible how this caste system works. It's incredible. I love watching bees, ants, wasps, all of these sociable, gregarious animals with some of the most intense communication systems. Now, we're going to continue on, see what else we can find, but David is still with Tingana.
Right, keep your trucks going, rough. You never know what you might see, and we come to Tingana. He makes some slight movement there, a little stretch, and hopefully he rise and shine and walk around. And I can tell you, all this time my eyes have been glued to this beautiful cat. Who would not want to watch such a beautiful leopard? And as I said the other day, at 12 years, I think he's doing extremely well. Extremely well. Many leopards, when they get to that age of 12 years, well, Taylor might have said he doesn't have the physique he had before, but I think he's still doing very well. And Robert, you'd like to know, how many hours do they sleep for? Well, that's a very tricky question to answer, because there's so many factors that come in play. It's the availability of food, 2, the condition of the leopard, and 3, a general behavior of leopard. The leopards that tend to sleep longer than others. The leopards, when they know it's a challenge to get food, they'll have to spend more time making sure they look for prey, and either, even if they don't eat it, they cache it somewhere. And again, there are leopards, who know whether they sleep or not the moment they decide to go for a kill. Robert, they will get what they want, when the condition is right. So it depends, say, from one leopard, Robert, to another. Since I found Tingana, he has spent pretty good time, having a nap. The first time I met him, he was sleeping, and half the time he was sleeping. The same case today. Minamu, I think your question is, do the leopards sleep more on the tree? That's the question, Luke. Sorry. Minamu, I would want to agree with you. Or rather, your question is, do they sleep longer when they get older? Definitely, definitely. I think yes. Just like human beings who, notice when we get old, we tend to sleep more. I'm sure you might have seen your grandmother, your grandfather. They stand like turning the clock backwards. When you're a little kid, how you spend more sleeping and less time for play. And again, as they age, they tend to sleep more. In general, cats behave that way. And leopards, I think, are no exception. And I was saying, at 12 years, going to 13, maybe max 15, it will be something commendable if he is going to hit that figure. Tingana, when do you want to wake up? And you must have been there for a very long time. Till left you there around 9 o'clock or 9:15. So this is so many hours of nap. And I'm sure Robert is worried for how long you can continue sleeping there. And Minamu, you'd like to know if Tingana is trying to get his territory back. I think he is still in very good shape, and I'll not be surprised if he tries to re-establish his territory. And like any other animal, as age catches up, you still want to show the other animals, or say for this case, the leopard here, you still want to show the other males you are still there, alive, kicking, and you're at your best. So Minamu, there could be a possibility he might start to encroach what used to be his territory very, very quietly, but surely, I'm sure he may want to do that. But he got a huge territory from what I gathered. Tingana got a pretty good territory. If anything, his only concern maybe would be Hukumuri, who I haven't met, and I'm really looking forward to meet Hukumuri. Typical leopards, typical cats, enjoying naps. Same case we see in Kenya, even in the Mara. But in the Mara, they tend to sleep more, in midday or in the heat of the day like this, on top of the trees, unlike on the ground. That's rather strange. And then when you go further north to the central part of Kenya that I was talking about, where you have these black, or what you call melanistic leopards, they tend to remain in the thickets, in the grass, right on the ground. Very, very rarely you see them climbing trees because it's very, very cold. On such high elevation of about 15,000 or so feet, anything above a big tree like the Tambotis or the Marulas would be very, very cold for the leopards. So they'd want to keep in the grassland where the bushes or the grasses are much thicker, and that way they'll be able to keep the body temperatures warm. Lucas, welcome to our world, and please remember, Lucas, you found out maybe how you send us questions on Twitter, #SafariLive, or can always follow us on the YouTube mainstream, and thank you for joining us. Yes, I think male leopards in general, they're stronger than the females. And in the animal kingdom, males, be they leopards, lions, elephants, buffaloes, they tend to be stronger than females. And I think Tingana is a classical example. And also the body sizes are big. If you look at them carefully, you'll notice, for example, Tingana. This is one of my favorite leopards, Lucas, that I've come to love. Or the other many leopards I've seen here in South Africa. He got quite a big head. And you can tell, he's a male and strong, good-looking boy. And come to leopards, think of them again. You notice just below their necks, Lucas, they got some dewlap, some big muscle hanging just under their necks, and the females may not have that. And most females could be anything 35, 45 kilograms. So look at that. While the males, some of them may be like Tingana, might be double that weight. I hope, Lucas, you agree with me when you think of animals. And make sure you keep following us, Lucas, and sending us more questions. And that way we'll be able to educate you and you engage us. I just love this boy. And my friend James has something sometimes the leopards put on their menu list.
I don't think I've ever seen a leopard eating an Egyptian goose, but I suppose, yes, they probably might eat an Egyptian goose if seriously desperate. All 7 still there. The parents here determined to make me eat my words about their skills. There also seems to be, I mean, this is not unusual for me, and I don't do it intentionally, but I managed to cause some offence by saying that I didn't think they were very good parents, and I'm being berated from various angles on social media. I do apologise for causing any offence. They're obviously, doing their best. I accuse them not of any intentional neglect of their previous clutches. It's just quite fun to project our anthropomorphic perspectives onto these animals sometimes. Anyway, everything is fine and dandy here on Sunday afternoon. The hippopotamus continue to do nothing of any great entertainment here. And I believe all of you who are taking an interest in the lives of these goslings, giving a thoroughly enthusiastic thumbs up that they are around. I think that they are now going to have to become a major part of our Safari Lives show, because they really are a regular character, always around. And mercifully, unlike Tingana, one of our other regular characters, they actually do something. You can see they're drinking and eating. I suppose Tingana was very active this morning, so he's a little bit tired. He's a cat, after all. Well, these fellows are on the forage all the time. Looking for algae, seeds, bits of fresh grass. Now, I do know, of course, and this is for David Gitu, that they do not taste good. And they don't taste good. Well, there are 2 stories about this. Firstly, I know that they are not very favoured in most parts of South Africa because they occur on golf courses everywhere you go. Now, South Africa is a place of rampant unemployment, and there are a lot of people who are not going to look askance at eating a wild bird if it's available. And there are certainly lots of them available all over the place. They're very widely distributed, even in cities, and yet they remain uneaten, which tells me that there must be a fairly unpleasant taste to them. The other thing, though, is to say that my father has a friend or my parents have neighbours, and the lady of the house there says, no, she knows how to cook it nicely. You can mince the breast of an Egyptian goose, and you can make it taste quite nice. So I did say, well, is that not because, with mince, it basically tastes like whatever you put in it? And she did sort of agree that was probably the case. And I'm sure Tingana would agree with me. It's probably why he doesn't eat them very much. Of course, as he gets older, they may become more and more part of his diet. Hopefully not these 7, though. We need to name them after 7 famous siblings. Righty. We are going to look and see if I can find some individual markings on these gooses, perhaps to for naming purposes. In the meanwhile, Ralph is looking at Pooh.
Well, everyone, I'm not just looking at Pooh, I'm looking at an entire ecosystem and all sorts that's going on inside this elephant Pooh right here. Because look at that, there's a whole termite colony that has made itself home inside the Pooh of an elephant ball. And well, after that, it looks like the ants have invaded and they're taking lots of little termites away with them. There's a whole war going on here. It seems a big battle between the termites and the ants. Now these termites, as you can see, if Davy can go in on some of these ants that are busy carrying termites away. These are obviously carnivorous ants that have attacked this mound, but these little termites, white as they are, they don't have any pigment in their skin, so they're not able to actually do the work that they need to in the midday sun. So when the sun's out, they would literally get sunburnt. There's one there. And so what they do is they go on the inside of things, or they cover it with some of their soil and saliva, and then they work on the inside. But in this case, they've literally just come up from underneath, I would say, and then been working on the inside. They've been working away at all of these grass clippings, and it seems the elephant has made their life easy, because normally they'd have to go out and carry that back into their nest. Well, they've been enjoying just the fruits of the elephant having collected all for them, and now the ants have invaded and are carrying away a lot of the termites. Carnivorous ants obviously going to be going and eating that back in their own burrow. So all sorts happening, hey? And wonderful to see how just one elephant dung ball can make such an ecosystem, with the termites first of all, degrading that, turning that grass back into assimilable energy, and now the ants having attacked them. It's almost completing a whole little cycle from the grass coming up through the soil, the elephants feeding on that, the termites feeding on the dung that the elephants have dropped, and now the ants feeding on the termites which have been made available as food for them. It's absolutely insane, the entire little system and cycle that is unfolding right in front of us. And wonderful to see the little intricate system of tunnels that the termites have within one simple dung ball of elephant. It is fascinating. So that's what I'm saying. We need to look a little bit closer in winter to find especially ants and termites doing all sorts of incredible little mini sagas that are going on here in the bush. And it's not always about the big stuff. Gara Land, I agree with you, absolutely relentless. These ants are just going for it. And everywhere, it's all for one and one for all. They will sacrifice themselves for the bigger good of the colony, and it is just fascinating. I'm sure that these termites have also activated all their soldier termites as well, but it seems the ants have sometimes, they do take them by surprise, and by the time the soldiers of the termites have been activated, it's a little bit too late. Well, from the predators of the tiny minuscule world and the happenings of inside a dung ball of elephant, let's head you back to David with Tingana.
Yes, the dung balls there, the beetles and the dung you'll get also being eaten by leopards at times, and our Duke is still having the best of his time, just sleeping, and not bothered by us, not bothered by what's happening on the outside world. And the last 4 days when we saw him with a kill, he had 2 different kills. He had 2 impalas at about 300 meters apart. That caught me by surprise, because I don't think I have ever seen a situation or a scenario where a leopard will have 2 kills. And we had so many theories when we went back to camp, and we were debating, let us stretch, return, Tingana, that's the best you can do for us. Okay, we'll wait. Look at that eye there. We're here. Can you see me, Tingana? Don't close your eye. open it up, open your body, and you rise. Well, maybe not now. And we still had a bit of a debate. Did Tingana make the 2 kills, or did he snatch 1 kill maybe from another leopardess, for example? We're just thinking, we're not very sure. But while in Kenya, I have seen leopards going for very, very big prey. And I'm talking about baby zebras, baby, wildebeest or baby buffaloes. But the largest prey I've ever seen a leopard bring up a tree is an antelope called topi. And we do not have topis here in South Africa. And it was definitely a male. And females, I highly doubt they'll be able to bring anything bigger than them in size. It was definitely a male, huge male, slightly bigger than Tingana, I would say. And it brought down a topi. And topis are like double the weight of leopards. You would imagine that, eh? But the most interesting thing is how it dragged that topi up a sausage tree. Sausage trees got very thick trunks, just like the jacoberries, but rather thick. And they form very good bases. The angles of the branches are just like the marula trees, which are very good to patch up some nice kill. I want to show you a photograph of how a topi looks like. And we'll compare it to its cousins here in South Africa, what we call the sesame. And VM, very kind of you. That is our topi back in Kenya. And the topi is about 140 kilos. So we're talking almost 300 pounds of weight. You would imagine, eh? Almost 300 pounds. And with a fully grown male leopard with about 150, twice the weight. It was one leopard, I think, that was very bold, very versatile, and it was known to bring kills much bigger than it. And that was something. I would still want to see what is the largest prey Tingana or Hukumuri will bring down during my stay here. And funny how they even go for small animals. Nancy, how are you today? And your question is, Tingana is so hidden, and how did we spot it? Well, we had a small little clue from Taylor, who was out this morning. So we benefited from her sighting, but then we kept crossing fingers, Nancy, that we'll get him where she left him. And luckily, yes, we found him there. And I'm not sure that, Nancy, you got me earlier. I was saying I was a bit frustrated when I was trying to look for flowers all over the bush here to give to all the ladies on the Mother's Day, and I did not get any. And I ended up getting a stick and digging the ground to see whether I could get any flowers growing, and I don't think that has ever happened. But I was saying later on that, this Duke Tingana made up my frustration of not getting the flowers, and there he is. Very, very difficult for anybody would have seen him there, Nancy. If you're just even doing a bushwalk, it would be practically impossible to see that boy having a snooze there. And talking of choices of food Tingana would like or would want to go for, James got some.
Well, we've got here some female Nyalas of the, same species as the males we looked at. And I've naturally just stepped behind this vast green thorn tree. Let's just move carefully. Now, most people find the winter landscape here, if they haven't seen it before, to be very harsh. And it's at this stage of the year that it starts to turn this golden brown color. And I love the way the light catches it at this time of the day. And I love the way that the colors of the camouflage, they don't pop out, but they blend in now. And this is why animals are the colors they are at this time of the year quite often, especially when we look at the male. Against a green background, he is really pretty easy to see. But against this kind of much greyer background, especially as we get deeper into the dry season, then we start to see the brilliance of the colours. It's now that camouflage becomes so much more important than hiding. Ravinda, I suppose it could be. You know, the Nyala dance is not accompanied by a lot of males doing it together at the same time, and I think that's more what rutting would be. I'm not actually sure biologically if rutting is defined as a whole group of males having fights together. I think that's what it is. So I suppose you might describe it as a rut, but I think rut is a kind of really collective thing that all the males in a species do. So I'm not sure that I would describe the dancing that Nyala do as a rut. There's a male behind us. We're not going to look at him because you'll just see a whole lot of aerial. So we're going to head down towards Chitwa Dam, and I believe that Tingana has decided it's time to get his Sunday dinner.
Well, look at the Duke T. Now he is on the move. We have been very, very patient here the last 1 hour or so, and it's time also for us to be on the move. So let's find out where he's up to, what he wants to do, and Via, make sure you keep your eyes on him. I'm trying to keep my eyes on the broken trees here. I don't want to bash any Tamboti tree and find out where. Back a little bit. Okay. You can see him right there. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Yeah. And ideally what they start to do once they rise up, they first start scent marking, and you might be getting some smell of popcorns. The urine mark, and I think he just either laid down there. So let's just go around and find out if maybe he's just changing his bed, eh? This is big fun for me. Paula, you're asking if leopards will ever share their territory. That's very, very difficult. I mean, leopards are very solitary cats to start with. And 1 minute, Paula. Let me just back up a little bit. Tell me, VM. More? 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 That's good. Forward. Paula, your question is, would leopards share their territory? It's very difficult for leopards to share their territories. What would happen is, leopards, I'm sure you know, are very solitary cats and very, very territorial. And once the cubs are fully grown, say at the age of 18 months or so, they are weaned by their mothers and they are always off to go. Occasionally, it has been found out, occasionally you'll get the cubs coming back to their mothers to share a kill. But that's very, very unusual. In general, once they're weaned and they're fully grown, they go their way. Two males have not been known or recorded to share territory. And even if they overlap, we have seen some huge conflicts between leopards, and more so males than females. Kathy, I couldn't agree with you more. The Tingana has a huge neck, and yes, that part of that kind of muscle hanging under his neck, Kathy, that's what you call a dewlap, and those kind of dewlaps, you only see them, on the males and not the females. Look at him, Kathy, how big that boy is. So he'll either claw mark there, start scent marking as he's rising now to shine for us. Let's just move forward and see where he wants to go. And I'm sure the bushwalk boys are trying maybe also to spot a leopard on foot as we follow this Duke Tingana.
Well, we are looking out for leopards coming up on top of each termite mound that we can find. But having said that, I couldn't not stop at this beautiful Tamboti that we found here. It is the largest based Tamboti that I have ever seen. It's almost like there's 5 trees coming out of one here, and it begs the question: what came first, the termite mound or the tree? Now, because we often ask this, and it's quite a difficult question, because what came first, the chicken or the egg? But in this particular situation, I'm pretty sure that the tree came first. Why? Because normally if there's a termite mound, trees that grow once the termite mound has already started is usually as a result of birds or mammals coming to perch on top of the termite mound and then normally defecating or dropping the seeds in that particular area. Like what would happen if a monkey or a baboon came and sat on top here, mouth full of marulas or whatever you might have, and then he drops that out or defecates on the site, and then it grows out of the termite mound. But in the case of the Tamboti, the fruit and the leaves and everything about it is slightly toxic. So not many animals feed on it, especially monkeys, baboons, and animals that you would think would be carrying their seeds around are not part of this process. So I believe that this Tamboti, especially where we are as well, next to this Riverine drainage line, that this tree started, and then afterwards the termites came and started their mound. And how they'll do that is after the rains, you have those alates that come out. It's basically primary reproductives, new kings and queens, and they leave the nest with some of the spores from the mushroom from the original nest that they were in, and then they'll fly off. And when they land, different primary reproductors from different colonies would now land. They've got a nice mix of spores, and they've also got 2 genetic variations or mixes that they can have from different colonies. And they will just drop their wings, and they'll normally move to where there's a bit of a stop, like a corner, but what do you have as things that are going to stop them in the bush? A nice termite mound would have been a nice area that a tree where they would have come and stopped next to it. And then in that particular area where the rain has been coming down the trunk, it's made it nice and soft at the base, and that's where they'll then start digging and make their termite mound. And I think the tree, as a result, has started to grow in a particular way because of the termite mound. Now, Ivy, I think that this lovely Tamboti, along with the termite mound, could be a couple of 100 years old. So it is once again fascinating to be in the presence of a tree that could tell such stories, and not only the tree, but also down onto the termite mound. Now, this tree is quite specific, and then you need to be quite careful if you had to use the wood from this tree, because it is quite toxic. It's got a white latex that comes through in any little leaf that you pick, okay, and that's a milky latex that is toxic. It's not going to kill you, but it is going to turn your stomach out quite badly. And if I would just move a little bit away here, what the problem is that this Tamboti wood has now come from this tree. It's a lovely heavy wood. It's would make for wonderful firewood. But if you had to put that on your fire, and you put lots of it on, and you cook your meat over this wood, which would make a lovely fire, I must say, and it'll probably burn quite slowly, but it will have a particular smell to the smoke, almost plasticky, and that would make our meat terribly toxic, because it concentrates that toxin through the smoke onto the meat. So, and I know a few people that have cooked meat on Tamboti, and they had very bad runs for the next few days, and they were man down. Now, I wonder, speaking about men down, if Tingana has gotten up and maybe he's moving around.
It looks the same as a leopard.
Well, guess what? We got the Duke now up, about, and trying to show why he is one of the best leopards we got around here. And he's just walking straight to us. We'll have to reverse a bit just to make sure we give him way. I'm sure we all know the animals got the right of way, and this is one leopard I would really want to enjoy seeing exactly his behavior and learning one or two things about him. And one thing I've liked his walking style is he is very majestic. Kath is still watching like all the other viewers, and he's coming and stopping occasionally, and what I think he's trying to do there, either trying to smell either urine mark, yes, as usual, very typical of leopards and most so males. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Hopefully you did hear that. That was fantastic, and it was a combination of urine scent marking and of course the sewing. That's something I've not also had for a long time. That was great, Tingana. Thank you very much. I've got a fork of road here. I don't know what road he's going to take, but still, let's first. I mean, I haven't had a leopard so for a long time. So what he did there, he urine marked that particular area, that bacon, and then he was like, Okay, Tingana, it's your time. I have to keep my mouth shut. You can see the urine spray there. I'm sure you can see it on your screen. You need to back up. I'm not sure exactly what road he's taking here, but we'll find out where he goes. And just look at that magnificent duke with that golden light coming through the grass. See the dew up there? And who would not want to watch such a beautiful cat just walking via a rhino dung there? Not bothered, didn't look for anything. Occasionally I've seen them going through Ellie's dungs and finding out beetles and eating them. So very, very slowly, surely, Tingana, we are going to follow you and find out what you are up to. And at the same time, I might sneak on your tracks as you walk, just to be 100% sure how the tracking is done of leopards. I've just seen you fresh and live, so let's see where you are up, what your plans are, where you want to go. And he might be looking for some food, because the last time we saw him it was 4 days ago and he hasn't done another kill. Who knows, maybe this could be the day. We won't get so close to him, we won't want to invade his space. He's turning left, he saw some guinea fowl fly to the left, and I was like, too far, I'm not sure. I'm thinking of getting you tonight, maybe someone else. Stop maybe, urine mark again, scrub the ground as usual. I'm in charge here. Urine spray, a bit of dust blowing up from his work. VM, did you see that? Good work, good job there. He's all buttered popcorns in the air now. Cedric, you say this is magnificent. I agree with you, it's magnificent. And I would say, like my friend Sebastian, and say this is magnifique. It is magnificent. And I also like to say this is magnifique. We are following you very slowly, quietly, Tingana, keeping your pace. No rush. You're in charge here. And I'm sure it was Kathy was trying to say he is trying to re-establish his territory. Terry, you're saying the scent marking could be going on because there's a female around, and Shidunu was not very far from where we are, and you have seen before his scent marks. He's first smelling the leaves of the bushes And that is an indication. See what he's doing. He first smells, and most likely he's trying to find out which female could have been around here. And Shidulu was here just 2 days ago. We saw the prints, but we never, the tracks, we never saw Shidulu herself. But most likely that is what he is doing. And who knows, they might pair up at one point, and it could be time, to go have, flatting and make babies. Let's follow him. I mean, this is just wonderful, just having your own time, the leopard walking, not harassed by anybody. And it still continues to convince me it will be my favorite leopard so far. Look at him there. I'm not sure he's trying to bring that bush down, but as you sure smell it, you can see the urine, you can see the splash, the spray there. I do not know how much urine the bladders of these cats hold. I would really want to research on that because, the spray, the amount of liters they keep spraying when they scent mark their territories, I think, is a lot of urine. And James is by the waterhole.
Righty, I'm at the waterhole indeed, and we have got a fish eagle that is on the hunt. Well, he was on the hunt. He's been flying around, and then he sits down again, and then he jumps up and looks like he's looking for something to eat. And quite interestingly, what he does is he uses the wind. So he flies with the wind around to the top of the bank here, where I'm standing, and then he turns into the wind, or kind of tacks into the wind. So the wind's coming basically from the direction that he is. And what he does is he then flies from here straight across it. And what that does, I think, is give him a little bit of extra lift as he's coming in, because he wants a little bit of extra lift coming in if he's going to grab a fish or something like that and get it out of the water. He doesn't want the wind behind him, because it'll actually drive him into the water, and he'll be unable to get up if he catches something. Isn't that interesting? Oh, I think it's quite interesting. I hope you think it's interesting. Anyway, that's what's going on here. We were hoping to find some other kind of animal here, perhaps a leopard or a lion or a tiger, but we haven't found any of those things. Anyway, I'm told there are some elephants around, so we'll go and have a look and see if we can find them. Now, Tula Ann, you are just 5 years old, and you said, did I wish all the mummy animals a happy Mother's Day? I did, I'm not very good with Mother's Day, Tula Ann. I hope that you're better than me at Mother's Day. I said Happy Mother's Day this morning to all the Bush's mothers, and again this afternoon, and I've been driving past secretly going, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day. Mother's Day every time I see a mother. So yes, I have been doing that. We can look at some mothers there. I think you'll find that there are lots of hippopotamus mothers down in the water there. There they are. Some of them are mothers, some of them are youngsters. I think you'll find that there are very few fathers in that particular group. The fathers will be away sort of grumbling to each other about all of the tough things that they have to do. In fact, they have to go to work tomorrow, dress in their suits, or overalls, depending on whether they're white-collar or blue-collar workers. But the kids are all with their mums there next to that tree, and they're all having a good time. Oh, there's also the darter. I've just seen him. There, spotted Craig. It's the most lovely Sunday afternoon. This really has got a beautiful Sunday afternoon feeling. And I think that the atmosphere surrounding this cat is probably very different.
And Tingana still on the move, and as usual, going, stopping, smelling the leaves of any other leopard before, but as usual, fast scratching the ground, and then doing the urine spray. And I've got some big homework tonight to do and find out how much bladder or how much urine or liquid do the bladders of these cats hold. that one is trying to smell if there could have been a bit of scent marking before. You see that? And it's such a coincidence. The same road that Shidulu took a day or two ago, walking up that way, but now he wants to make sure while Shidulu come around again, he's leaving some tracks to know what direction maybe he's going or how they can link up later on. We'll go closer together. White Owl, you're asking what road he's trolling on now. And this road here, it is called the Elephant Carcass Road. It's called the Elephant Carcass Road, and that's the name of this road, and that's where he is. I just learned that from VM. That's the name of this road, Elephant Carcass Road. And I hope you saw that elephant carcass that was killed by another male early the other month. And there he is again. And what a majestic leopard he is. He doesn't look very hungry to me if I look at him carefully. His hindquarters look to be in very good shape. Once some of the cats and more so leopards and lions start aging up, you'll see the hindquarters, the first parts of the bodies to collapse. And you could easily see their bones, and especially the hip bones, showing out there. But this one, if you look at it carefully, he still looks to be in very good shape. And then cats and leopards again, most of leopards, you'll see their ears will be torn and they'll be tattered because most of males are involved in a few conflicts with other males, fighting over territory, fighting over females for breeding rights, and so many scars on their faces. Hopefully Tingana will be able to stop at one point and have a better visual look on his face, and I would be happy to know whether I can count the number of scars he got. And if he doesn't have as many scars, it will mean to me he has been winning. Tamian, you're asking how big are the paws of the leopard? That would be difficult, but just look at my hand. I would say, I would give and take that size there. That could be like the size of a leopard paw. What he'll do at one point with good light, I will stop and I'm going to take you down there with the camera to show you how big they are. But could be half size, you know, half the size of your, I would say, hand there. Quite majestic. There he goes. And actually you're asking at what age is a male leopard fully grown? I mean, they are weaned at about 3 or 4 months by their mothers, and I would say they're fully grown and they're more independent. I would say males 2.5 to 3 years and females about 3 years. So 2.5 to 3 years actually, I would say leopards are fully grown and ready to go and live their lives. And we'll continue following our Duke Tingana. The bushwalk got something interesting to tell us or show us.
Well, look at this, everyone. This is what the beauty of walking around on foot. It enables you to be able to scratch around in the dirt. And I saw something white in the gravel, and I just dug around it and look what I unearthed. It seems like this would be a little Steenbok skull, and it is quite impressive. I'm not sure if we've got one in the tent, but lovely to see. This is obviously the top part of the skull. At the back of it there you can see the sort of brain case holding the very vital organ in there, with the horns sticking up in the top. Then as I rotate it, you can see where the eye socket would be, and then obviously on the other side as well. And at the back, as I go around slowly, you can see where the spinal cord would enter in at the brain site there. So unknown as to why this little creature died, but as is typical of a lot of these animals, you can see that the snout sort of chewed off, I would say, either jackal or hyena. They generally do that. And Lara, I agree 100% with you. Very cool. Thanks for your comment. It is nice to scratch around and find all these kinds of little things all over the place, and it does make for interesting times out here in the bush. Now, we're just continuing up here through this little Tamboti forest, and that sun starting to go down quite nicely now. Aidan, this little bone is from a small little antelope called a Steenbok. And you see the small little horns that he's got? My hand next to it. Tiny little horns that they do have, and this is probably even an adult. So they are very, very small little antelope that do run around here. We do get smaller antelope in South Africa, but Steenbok probably the smallest of this particular area. Further down along the east coast of South Africa, we have the blue duiker, which is quite a lot smaller than even that, which makes for a tiny little antelope. Is probably about that big and almost half the size of a Steenbok, which is absolutely stunning when you do get to see them. But they're very secretive and nocturnal, and you only see them moving around at night. Also in pairs, like the Steenbok, but more the nature of like a duiker, and that kind of colour as well, but much smaller, much smaller. Now, once again, up the top of a termite mound here, looking out just to see if we can spot any leopards, maybe doing the same as us, looking and listening for any alarm calls as we watch the sun disappear behind some of the clouds there and heading down towards the horizon. And what a beautiful setting it is. But speaking of beautiful settings, we're going to head off, and I think James is most likely also in a beautiful setting of his own.
Well, it is a very beautiful setting of our own. We can see the sun is now starting to sink, which is unsurprising given the lateness of the day. But there's a real kind of dry season feel to this today. Those are Senegal lapwings you can hear. And you can see there's a lot of dust in the air. You can see the dust, Craig. That's why we're getting colours, even at this time of the day. And then there are two impalas who have given up on the rut. They've decided that it's time to be friends with each other again, that fighting over ladies is getting them nowhere. And so they've decided that they will peaceably feed together and watch out for predators that might try and devour them during the course of the night. We are on Chitwa, as you obviously have seen, and there is no sign of any of the other leopards that we know and love. Paula, thank you for that profound piece of wisdom that you've shared. You say the sun looks like an egg. Well, all I can say, Paula, is that wherever you happen to be in the world, I wish I had eggs that were the same as yours. An egg-shaped sun. Of course, the interesting discussion point there, and there is actually an interesting discussion point there, is that eggs come in all shapes, don't they? Paula, don't you dare be sorry for any comment that you make. Yeah, it's wonderful to have any comment that you make. What you meant was that it's the colour of an egg. Yes, again, we don't have eggs that colour over here. They're more a sort of blandish beige colour rather than that glorious gold. So you obviously got some very special chickens where you live, Paula. Now, egg shapes are quite interesting while we drive along here. Some eggs are round, and I'm just trying to remember which ones. I think it's the ground nesting birds that have got round eggs, because why do they have round eggs? It's got to do with where they move and how they roll. And you'll find birds that make cup nests have got the oval-shaped eggs, and they're placed in such a way that they can't roll out. Something like that. I've forgotten naturally what I was going to say about all of this, but yes, eggs do have different shapes for very good reasons. In case you're wondering what that is, the guests at Chitra this evening are going to be treated to, I suspect, a delicious dinner under the stars. And what a magnificent place it will be to be later this evening. If you've ever been to the bush, you will know that these bush dinners that they have are just spectacular. I remember driving into them with my guests, and you'd always try and make it a big surprise, you see. And so what I used to do is make my guests close their eyes so that they couldn't see where we were going. I'm sure many of them cheated, but others didn't. And what you do is you drive into this. We had a place up at Nyala in amongst the mapani trees, and they would hang hundreds of lanterns in these trees. And so it looked like a whole lot of fairies basically were roosting around where we were having dinner. And we'd be driving through the dark, and I'd cut the lights and say, I'd say, close your eyes, and then we'd turn the spotlight off and keep them totally eyes closed, pull up outside the bush dinner, and then, turn all the car lights off and say, okay, open your eyes. And there would just be this explosion that looked like thousands of fairies sitting in the trees all around, and the gasps of admiration and joy were always very satisfying. Of course, they were then handed a delicious cocktail by a hostess or host, and that made the evening even better. Wonderful way to while away an African night under the stars. The sound of hyenas whooping, hopefully in the distance and not too close by. Sorry, I missed that, Luke. Project Alpha falling off cliffs points. Oh! Elephant. Thank you, Project Alpha. You say the more pointy the eggs stop them falling off cliffs. That's right, because they get orientated in such a way that they can't roll sideways. Right, we're in amongst a large herd of elephants now. Very exciting. Let me just turn off and creep slowly forward without giving too much shock and awe to the elephants. There is a large bottom, Craig. A young bull's large bottom. On to the winter forage this time. It is a monkey pod tree. I will get us into a slightly better position than this. It's just we must first assess what the herd is doing and feeling and where it's going. I think what I'm going to do, actually, Craig, is just back up and drive up that other road, because I think they're all moving that way. Some very little ones here, which is nice. And we don't have to kind of chase them from behind. Good afternoon. How are you? Delicious. Delicious red bush willow. Mmm. There we go. Just totally ignoring the grass now. Yes, never too late. I agree. A very nice surprise it was to be finding some elephant. Especially as this is the first piece of big game I think I've found in about 48 hours, actually. And to be perfectly honest, somebody told me they were here, so it's not like I found them at all, really. Now, here come the others. Well, apparently a little mongoose ran in front of us, thank you. Who was it that wanted to see a mongoose? Lara Moore, was it? I think you wanted to see a mongoose. Well, there you are. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a fantastic sighting. I should try and find perhaps a few more. As Luke says, just giving the viewers what they want all the time. He is, of course, being sarcastic. Right, something interesting's just gone on in that thicket. I suspect a senior member of the herd has said, "You youngsters, get out of here." No, it's that young bull. You can see that he is feeling, well, shall we say, slightly excited by his existence, and is obviously chasing the others around. There's a little one. Sorry, Craig. Oh, and a stumpy-tailed female. I like to watch, elephants' whatties? Oh, Willow, you're just 4 years old watching Safari Live. That's wonderful. Willow, you say you like to watch elephants' heinies, which means their bottoms, does it? I think elephants have some of the best bottoms out here, and so yes, if I was going to choose to look at a bottom, it would almost certainly be an elephant's bottom, Willow, and so you and I are in agreement there. That's a funny-looking bottom, Willow. It's only got half tail. Looks like a Doberman Pinscher. Not really. More like a polo pony. That's very sweet. That little thing can't be a year old yet. I'm constantly astonished every time I see an advanced, well, relatively intelligent animal like an elephant with a youngster only a year old, very clearly not independent and unable to look after itself yet. But compared with a similarly aged human being, infinitely more advanced physically. It really is quite something how slowly we develop as infants. All right, let's move around and get a slightly nicer view of them. And while we do that, let's go back to he who is re-establishing his dukedom.
Tingana is trying to wrestle all the trees and the branches around this area. He brings them down, he sniffs them, he smells them, he urine marks, and he just moved a few meters in front there, and we want to catch up with him. He's just laying on the ground. He's laying on the ground there, Avian, right? He's at the moment laying on the ground there. Let's see if we go through here. Maybe if we go through here, we can catch him on the other side. He's giving us some good entertainment here. Can you see him there? Or is it too tight? Okay. William says, let's do it the other way around. We still got some good room. He's enjoying his nap. Trying to fight with a bit of trees. Just hold on for a minute. And I'm sure the elephants are not giving James a difficult job like me here. Let's find out what the Ellies are doing with James now.
Well, we're just still sitting here, enjoying our marvelous elephant herd. This looks like possibly the matriarch, although she is sort of in the middle. She's a big cow. She doesn't look very old. She's also got a bit of leaf stuck in her ear. You see that, Craig? She's still onto the green stuff, onto the grass, but watch where she's eating it from. See how she's eating it from underneath the shade of that bush, which is where you'll find the green stuff and, of course, the panicum, the guinea grass. And there she's getting rid of some of the drier, strawier stuff and trying to get some nutrition out of the greenie. Yes, Fiona, I would say absolutely during the winter time, elephants need to feed far more. Well, not far more, but definitely more than they would during the summer. They have to spend a good deal of time, especially in the dead of the winter, breaking off branches and chewing off the bark, which is a painstaking process because obviously there's not a huge amount of bark on every branch. And so it takes a long time for them to get sufficient. And you can see that she's eating that grass on a sort of easy summer's day in, say, January or December after the rains. You know, the amount of nutrition she'll get for the effort that she's just put in now, I would say probably sometimes a good 50 to 70% better. Maybe even more than that. See, now look, she's moving the bush aside. I'm not sure that I'm able to answer this question sufficiently, child of the universe. We think elephants avoid toxic plants. We think they avoid plants that are filled with tannins. We know, of course, that plants will increase their tannin levels in response to being preyed on by elephants and other herbivores. And so I don't necessarily think that there are any tree species here that they particularly avoid. Perhaps gymnosporia trees. I haven't seen them eating a great deal of gymnosporia or spikethorn trees. I mean, there must be one or two species that they just don't eat, but there will be individuals in species that they normally eat that they won't touch because the chemical defenses have been heightened in response to browsing. Eating a bit of zebra wood now there. Now moving on to a bit of monkey pod. Very selective. They're not indiscriminate feeders at all. Well, Tula Ann, aged just 5 years old, I don't know what happened to that elephant's tail, but lots of things could have happened. I suspect the most likely thing was that a cut there, and then a whole lot of ticks got into the cut, and basically they ate her tail off, which I think is really sad, but she'll be okay. And I'm sure it was very sore at the time, but it'll be absolutely fine now. So I think you'll find that something made an injury, made a hole in the skin, the ticks got in there, and basically they ate the tail off. Tail is very useful as a fly swatter, but it's not impossible for an elephant to stay alive without one. Donna, the short trunk herd, I don't remember when the last time I saw them was. It was some time back. I think we have the matriarch now. Craig, coming up to the left here, there is a tuskless cow. And I think I recognize her. She's the one furthest behind. I'm not going to move because she's going to come out onto the road in front of us. In fact, there's a bit of a gathering going on there. That's a bull. It's a youngish bull there. Not that one. That's a young cow with her tiny little baby. No. Look at this little thing. Very sweet. But Craig, is that there? You can see through the bush. That's a bull. There, that guy. No. See with his back to, yeah, that's him. He's causing a little bit of consternation. But he's not big enough to be a real threat to this lot. Now, I'm just trying to see the tuskless cow. There she is. She's coming across the road now. I think she's the matriarch. I think she's older than all the others. And I recognize her. Well, I recognize a tuskless cow. There must be more than one in the area. So she's leading up from behind at the moment. That's quite interesting. Maybe just shimmying everybody along. And I had started a discussion that I don't believe that I've had before yesterday, which in 3 years is quite unusual that we haven't kind of come across the topic. But the topic basically was on matriarchs of hyenas and matriarchs of elephant herds and how different their roles are, and how the matriarch of a hyena clan is much more like a sort of dictator who lives by force and violence and takes the best pieces of meat and lives in luxury in comparison with all her subjects. Let's just roll down the hill here. Whereas, of course, in an elephant herd, the matriarch's role is a much more managerial leadership role, where she is not a violent dictator as she is normally in a hyena clan, but much more a leader and mentor to the rest of the herd, which I think is quite interesting, and yet we use the same term. The wind is really not sounding very good. Well, Ralphie, being the friendly person he has managed to find another friend.
Well, everyone, we've walked down the drainage line where that Tamboti forest was, and we've come out at Twin Dams, and I believe this is where Dave had Tingana in this area. I think he was possibly in one of the big jackalberries just off on the other side. But it's always interesting to come down next to a water hole and just check and see what has been coming down to drink, besides from what's in the water. I'm sure Davy, he was looking at a terrapin a minute ago. But there's been all sorts down here. There's warthog tracks, there's hippo tracks, there's elephant tracks, and yeah, it's just always nice to walk in the footsteps of giants as well, putting my little miniature feet inside where they've been standing here having a little drink. It's wonderful. And a lot of the bank here is actually filled up with Egyptian geese tracks as well. And just off over the other side over there, there's a lot of Egyptian geese dung too. So it's just interesting to come down nice and close and see that. And obviously, you know, the Egyptian geese have got webbed feet. So you see how their toes are sort of curled on the outer edges, and you have this little triangles forming because of the webbed pieces in between their toes. And lots of warthog activity, and they've all been probably coming down, having a drink, having a little wallow as well in the water here, just on the edge. And they are animals that do like to wallow. There's also waterbuck tracks just up in front here, and once again lots of elephant tracks. They are going inside them, and one or two of the hippo tracks as well. I just see there's some dung there. It's quite interesting. Lots of seed pips inside it. I wonder what that was. Maybe a jackal, or potentially even a porcupine, something like that. But luckily we do know that there's no hippos in here at the moment, because if we made an approach like this on a small pan like that, you do need to be careful of hippos and also crocodiles. I think this is quite a shallow pan, so if a crocodile had to grab me here, I could probably fight him off. So I wouldn't worry too much. Our Lynn, yes, crystal clear perfection and lovely reflections, especially at this time of the evening with the sun going down in the background there. It makes for wonderful light, wonderful photographs, as well as the videography that I'm sure Davy is exhibiting with his excellent skills. So, and as I say, as a tracker, as a guide, always just looking for signs of anything fresh that has maybe come down for a drink. And unfortunately, apart from Tingana, it's been seriously quiet. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come to this area, access a bit of different zones on foot, and see if we could pick up on anybody else besides Tingana, and see if there was fresh tracks. I mean of lions or leopards, but it seems there's not much whatsoever. So we're just going to have to keep on persevering, keep looking for this, because we know how quickly things can change. Now, at least James is still with our big mammals.
Well, yes, a little version of the big one now. The matriarch has given a signal. They're all moving off quite suddenly. There they go. There's the big car at the back, the big tuskless cars at the back. There's another big car in the front. Let me just get out of the way. So maybe she's like a backup, I don't know. Or she's told them from behind, it's time to move on, chaps. She's definitely waiting to see what we do as a result of their disappearance. Child of the universe, I'm not sure that I would agree that orcas have a similar kind of, or are similar to elephants. Just go over the question again, Luke, exactly. What other animals are similar to elephants in terms of social structure or? Oh, have matriarchs similar to elephants? I know nothing about orcas, child of the universe, so I don't know, but they may well have a matriarch that is similar to elephants. Interestingly, I mean, there are instances in human society where there have been a matriarchal figure that has a very similar function to an elephant, where her function is quite unlike the sort of male dictators of human history, where the senior members of women's clans and families, their role is largely as a mentorship role for youngsters, and especially young women. So human beings have a similar, I suppose, in some cases, matriarchal system. I don't know about orcas, but perhaps it's the same with orcas. But otherwise, I think it's one of the very few social societies that are dominated by, not dominated, you see, it's not dominated, are led by, managed by the oldest female in the group. Can't think of any others out here. There are plenty of species where there are collections of females living with their youngsters, but not so many where there is a actual leadership role. Dara, I think it's look and smell and feel and sound and everything else. I'm pretty sure that they can smell their offspring. All elephants look slightly individually different, and so I'm pretty sure that their parents can probably, or their mothers, can see the difference between their own offspring and other offspring. But I think there is definitely a smell to it. Those trunks are sniffing and smelling all the time. A bit of noise there. Just a little bit of consternation going on here. There's a bit of a fight. Let me move forward while I answer Never Too Late's question. You find probably never too late that it's genetic, that those missing tusks are a result of some kind of genetic aberration, and she'll probably produce offspring that don't have tusks. Some elephants have their tusks broken off through use or some kind of nutritional deficiency that's made them weak. She doesn't have it. I don't think she's got either. She's got no tusks right from the root. There we go. So that's unusual. It's like being born without two front incisors, which, of course, in a human being looks absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, Ryan, we think so. You know, elephants, when they get old, they obviously can't move with the herd nearly as much. They can't move from feeding ground to feeding ground as effectively, so they go down to the rivers where the food is soft and generally more nutritious. And Ryan, yes, essentially they do starve to death. You know, their teeth eventually wear out, and then that's it. And they are unable to chew anything. But at the same time, they've often got old by then and are showing symptoms of old age, which is a sort of general decrepitude. difficulty moving. I don't know how arthritic they get. They don't get the lifestyle diseases that we get, of course. But, they get old. Old age and why it occurs and why we get old is a fascinating subject. I'm taking a takeaway there. That's quite nice. Very wise. Robert, speaking of old age, they can probably get in this area, the textbooks will tell you, between, I think it's 60 and 65 years. But I would suspect in some areas they probably live even longer than that. I mean, it's a long time since I looked that up. I'll see if I can't find a more scientific answer for you. So some actual data. Tesla, I think that my favorite thing about elephants, especially as I sit here in the evening as the sun's gone down, is, well, there are two things. Can I give you two things, Tesla? There are two things. One is the smell, especially mixed with the dust and the dry grass like this. They smell like sweet leather. So a little bit like a new pair of shoes, Tesla, but nicer than that. And then the other thing I like about them is that they make me feel very peaceful when they're like this. They're not angry, they're just feeding quietly, and I feel like that I feel peaceful when they feel peaceful. And so those are the two favorite things, or my two favorite things about elephants. Let's see if we can have another look here. We don't want to do that. They've been so tolerant of us, we don't want to sort of get in amongst them and give them a fright. So we'll just be very gentle as we go up here. There we go. Just giving them a little bit of a shove from behind, which isn't very nice. So we'll let them settle down, for a bit longer, and you can go and have a look and see what that cat is doing as the night falls.
Well, hopefully the ellies, they will settle down, and our Duke, Tingana, is just taking it easy, much active than before now. And you can see the flicking of the ears, showing more life or more action might be coming in than earlier when we saw him just flat sleeping. This is very typical of leopards most of the day when they'll be very, very inactive. And as, darkness comes in, they tend to be more mobile, and hopefully this is the time we'll see him trying to do something. I was trying to focus closely. If VM, you can go to the ears, and you could see the little tear marks he got on the ears there. Is what I was saying. For 12 years, I think he's doing very well. It's always a very good way to age a leopard. The tear marks, like he got on that one left ear, right below at the base there. You can see there's a huge tear there. And could have been a claw or a tooth from another leopard, be it hukumuri or something like that. I'm not sure what spoke to him there. Could be another game drive vehicle coming close. But on the left there, you see that? He just looked. There's a huge, I would say a warthog. Pokemon just went in there. VM just told me, that's what he looked at. Will you believe that? And leopards have been known to bring down porcupines. I didn't see it, but VM saw a porcupine going in that burrow there, and the times you've seen warthogs also going in there, but if it's a porcupine, leopards have been known to bring them down and just devour them. Who knows? That could be maybe one of the reasons he's where he is, and he came and he stopped there. He'd come from inside and outside and then went in. Ooh, that could have been something. I thought it was another game drive vehicle that kind of poked the leopard there, but the VM tells me it was a porcupine. Well, let's see what happens, and we will find out if the porcupine might have found someone else inside that hole there. Chances are, the porcupine will come out. All right, rise. Nice. Good yawn there, Tingana. Well done. What next now? Do you go towards that termite mound that have a home for the porcupine is right there? That could be good plans for dinner. What are you thinking, Tingana? You have porcupine there. Who else would you think you could go for? Sometimes we get warthogs living in there. So you got a choice of, say, fillet-like meat, or you also got a choice of pork chops tonight. I don't know what would smell better. It's all entirely up to you, Tingana, to tell us what you'd easily go for. I don't think, Tingana, you have not brought someone down since the last 3-4 days I saw you, but in between big meals, our leopards have been known to get small birds or reptiles or steal eggs of birds. So chances are he cannot have been surviving on the impala meal we saw him with the other day, and he would have gotten a few little bitings, a few little snacks to get him to the next main meal, a major course of maybe another impala or another antelope. Slowly heading up in the other direction across the drainage, and what we'll do, we are going to reposition ourselves and quietly follow him, and maybe he is giving the porcupine a chance maybe to come out of that burrow, and the porcupine will think the danger is gone and I am going to come out, and Tingana will swing right back. Let's first find out where he has gone. We don't want to lose him as yet. And baby Ellies are giving us a good show at the moment.
No, there was a baby elephant giving us a good show. Unfortunately, he decided the show was over. He was lying in the sand, and his friends was kind of throwing sand on him, which was very sweet. But then, as he knew you were coming to see him, he got up, unfortunately. I think it may be time to leave these chaps. Let's see if we don't find another set of spots emerging from the darkness. Yeah, it is just the camera NASCAR for life. Great name. You say, are some elephants too short to nurse? No, they're not. It does look like that. Even from this angle that I'm sitting, it looks like that. It's not just the camera, but they can all reach. And I think sometimes the females must sort of lean over slightly, but I don't think that happens very often. There's the one-tusked lady. Alrighty, we're going to say goodbye to these elephants, have a last look at them, and then you are going to have a last look at the great Ralph Kirsten.
So everybody, this you can see here with these very white thorns on it is one of the old acacias. Now it's called Vachellia, but I'm pretty sure that this is a Vachellia nilotica, or the sweet thorn. It's a little baby, a little seedling. It's still got a long way to go. But the reason I wanted to just show you a little bit on those thorns there is that we had a question earlier about xerophytic plants. Now, a xerophytic plant is a plant that can survive in little to no water conditions, such as in deserts. And that question coming through from CNAC. Now, CNAC, we do have some plants that are quite resistant to drought conditions in these particular areas, and the Vachellia being one of them. Now, this, as I said, was a Vachellia nilotica, but in Namibia, you get the Vachellia karoo, or the camel thorn. And it's called the camel thorn because the camel being, in Afrikaans, the giraffe is a kameel perd, so it's a camel horse. And they just called that tree, because the giraffe feed on it so much, they called it the camel thorn. But those are relatively drought resistant, and they've got massively long tap roots that go down sometimes up to 100 meters and tapping into the underground water. However, having said that, a xerophytic plant does not need to be tapping into the underground water in such conditions. So plants like your cactuses and your euphorbias, although not these euphorbias that we get here, the candelabra euphorbia is not a xerophytic plant, I believe. It's more so like your desert euphorbias, like you once again get in Namibia, the Euphorbia damarana, and there are a number of different other ones. They're just failing my mind right now. But one plant in particular called the Welwitschia mirabilis. It is one of the most amazing xerophytic plants you will ever see in your life. And look that one up. I'll say it again. Welwitschia mirabilis. It was discovered by a German botanist in the Namib Desert. Well, he was one of the people to record it and write about it. It was obviously discovered by the Bushmen long before he wrote about it. But anyway, that's the reason why he gets his name in the front of it. Have a look at those Welwitschia mirabilis plants and you'll see what I'm talking about, a xerophytic plant that can survive in real dry to desert conditions. The plants that we have around in Djuma concession are pretty much low water condition resistant, but they're not true xerophytic plants, because then they would be able to survive in little to no water whatsoever. And we do have a decent amount of water coming through here in comparison to the very desert-like conditions that we have in the Namib and other areas right up into the Sahara and all over the world, different desert-like places where you'll have xerophytic plants surviving in those areas on little to no water. It's very, very interesting. Vacillia, they are water less environment resistant. Now, Welwitschia, it's with a W-E-L-T-C-H-I-A, Welwitschia, yes, Welwitschia mirabilis. Okay, so look it up. If you Google it, you will see it is one of the most amazing plants, grows very low to the ground, but it is in fact a tree. It is a cone-bearing tree, so one of the pine species, and one of the most unique plants anywhere in the world. It is only found in a small band, about 50 kilometers away from the coast, along the Namib coast, and slightly a little bit into Angola. Now go and look that plant up. I'm telling you, you're going to find something special, unique, and totally amazing. But not to say that the acacias or the now vacillias are not amazing in their own right, especially with these thorns that they produce. And they do supply a lot of food to many of our animals around here, especially the giraffe, with these little leaflets being very nutritious, and sometimes more so than even the big simple leaves that you would find on perhaps a tree like the jackalberry. And hence the reason why they have such very sharp little thorns trying to protect the very nutritious leaves and their source of food and survival with those leaves, with the chlorophyll and the process of photosynthesis. So wonderful, wonderful things to talk about with plants, and it's been lovely with the arthropods, especially the ants this afternoon. And then we also did have the and we did have all sorts, and that's the wonderful thing about the small stuff out on foot. And look at that, we've just got a warthog up front here, a very fat warthog indeed. And I can tell you what, he would hopefully not fall prey or foul to any of these leopards that are walking around, because I know Tingana is not too far from here, and he could quite easily grab a fat piggy like that. And speaking of Tingana, I think we're going to head you back to Dave. I hope he's still with him.
Well, Raf, let those warthogs know there's a potential person here who'd like them for his dinner tonight. So warthogs once in a while have been brought down by, oops, I'm not sure what he's eating there, by leopards. He's licking maybe poo of something there. Ali, remember saying we have seen them going on leopard, on buffaloes poo, and I do not know what they'll always be eating in the animal dung for, like buffaloes and ellies. Ellies, I would guess they'll get the small beetles. But for buffalo dung, Tingana, you may have to tell me what exactly you derive, what nutrients, what minerals do you get, or vitamins you get from a buffalo maiden there. I think that's exactly what he's doing. And not very easy. The way it's going in its mouth, you can tell not like how they eat the meat. He's struggling either to put it in the throat or down the tummy because of maybe the amount of grass in it. Then he licks his paw, but he's still trying to get whatever it is into his mouth. Do you think that's some dung of an animal of a kind?
It's buffalo dung.
Yeah, I think I was right, it's buffalo dung. Sammy Gent, you said this is awesome. I also agree with you. To me, I'll say double awesome. Double awesome. Leopards should eat and scrub on anything, not necessarily getting proteins or the prey they bring down to eat. But now we have him just going through some buffalo dung, and I would want to know what they derive in it. I mean, buffaloes are herbivores, they eat a lot of grass. What benefit to be getting to eat or to get small bits and pieces from the buffalo dung is very interesting, and right in the middle of the road there. I have seen also them once in a while trying to eat impala poo. The reason you're asking, is he eating it or he'd make it wet and then he could roll into it? I still have seen him trying to swallow part of it in his mouth. If you look carefully there, to me, he is like, spreading it out and either trying to marinate it, making it a little soft. Let's wait and see if he's going to roll over it. I have a lot to learn from you, Tingana, I haven't seen this raised in Kenya, so I could be getting one of my big lessons today. I've seen them going to elephant dung, eating a few beetles and living it there, getting a few flies. If they get any larvae of an insect, they'll also eat it. But now, for the buffalo dung, let's see what he'll tell us. And Amandus, you think maybe it's like medicine? Yes, who knows? I mean, if it has a little tummy issue or it has some kind of fever, it could be medicine. Who knows? I mean, we have always gone for some herbal medication locally here in Africa, and buffaloes being herbivores, they eat lots of herbs, and I'm talking about, of course, grass. So, yeah, it could be medicine that he is trying to derive from that buffalo dung there. I'll have to take a very big lesson tonight. Maybe I might skip my dinner and find out what leopards will be benefiting on buffalo dung. And that tells me he is eating it either way. And it's some benefit of some sort. He is getting it. Perhaps you think now I am the official Tingana whisperer. Thank you very much. I'm giving you a high five for that. Or let me give you high 10 instead of high five. And yes, I hope I'll remain Tingana's whisperer for the rest of my stay here in South Africa. Look at those eyes. Look at that look. Well done, Tingana. Please tell us what you're doing there. We'll back up and give you way. You're in charge here. You're the Duke. And we all know animals have the right of way. It's such a privilege to see them when they give us such cooperation and allowing us to have such great views. We're not very far away from the tree waterhole, and we don't know whether he could be going for a drink. I'm just anticipating maybe he's going for a drink. And the tree waterhole is just right there ahead of us, which is another 30 meters from where we are. And Tingana, tell us, what could you be wanting to do? What could you be up to? Sorry, VM. As usual, he remarks, marks that area, my territory. He's making it much wider. Looks in the direction of the waterhole. Darkness slowly creeping in. Change the direction. And he's so close. Smells that bush for any other leopard that might have done any scent marking. Rubs his head on it. Laura, you're asking, would be eating the dung could help, for, bacteria for the leopard, for Tingana? I would think it could be the case, and they might use them maybe to help them in their digestion, because the elephant or buffalo dung will have lot of small organisms in them. So it's a possibility maybe he would be able to pick up some bacteria in it that maybe would help in the digestion of all the proteins they eat, and that maybe would make it hasten or quickly think of another kill pretty soon, or maybe tomorrow or the day after. It's very possible. I agree with you. That's a possibility there. So he'll go either smell if any other leopard had marked territory here, as usual, do the scratching and then do the spray of urine. Here he goes. Yes, Duke Tingana, we agree that was a sneeze. God bless you. My God, did you hear that? What a showing, Tingana, and what a way to tell me, David, welcome to South Africa. I might remain your favorite. That was such a vocalization for me, and I could also hear my heart go. James, did you hear that, James?
Oh, here we go. No, we don't have anything like that this side. We are going to do the southern boundary, which is what we're on now. We're back towards Djuma, which is on our right. Are we all fair? Or was that the wrong communications? Okay. Lucas is using the wrong buttons on his radio at the moment, and so he will be either lashed to this evening or given some strong liquor. Probably lashing is a better, more effective method. Anyway, we are heading down the southern boundary of Djuma, and we're hoping that the noise you've just heard being made by Tingana might attract the attentions of Hukumuri, or maybe even Shudulu feeling amorous. So we're going to go all the way to the western boundary and drive up there and see what we can find. That is our plan for the remainder of the show. Some 25 minutes I think we have left in the night time. And I'm most pleased that we have a leopard to go back to. Woo! That was a very speedy diker, but then made a sort of puffing noise. Unless it just bashed its head into something. No, I think it just got a concussion on the bush. Oh well. Not being chased by anything. No sign of Hosana or Tandi or Guchava this afternoon. I was on Chitra, obviously listening. I see most of you think that it's a very good plan that we give Luke a lashing. Good, okay, we will do that. we will bring out probably a thin cane. And Lara, I believe you are especially enthusiastic about the possibility of Luke receiving a good caning this evening. Well done. Good. I shall deliver that. No, in fact, I won't. I think I'll get Kirsten to deliver it. She is, of course, Luke's immediate, one just hesitates to use the word superior, immediate boss, if you like. And so we'll get her to deliver a lashing publicly over dinner and see if that doesn't help. Yes, as Luke says, she is very terrifying. She might be small, but she is utterly terrifying. Right, we have a bush baby in a tree up ahead. No, we don't. It's a light twinkling from a long way away. It's not a bush baby. Don't worry, Craig. It is a light twinkling in Bushbuck Ridge. And as Luke says, just prior to his lashing, let's go from a fake bush baby to a real leopard.
While moving from bush babies to a big leopard here, and you notice now we have gone to infrared because of the darkness is coming in, and we do not want to shine any bright light on this beautiful Duke Tingana. He has been very busy. He did not stop at the waterhole as I anticipated. He gave it a miss, and he is walking toward VM, tells me used to be a hyena den. So you see how the dynamics have changed now when we go to infrared, which shows a lot of compassion in making sure we do not blind these nice cats with our light. So we'll keep following him slowly and find out what actually he wants or where he really wants to go in this darkness. He keeps going, scent marks as usual, goes, stops, scent marks, sniffs if maybe there was another leopard or leopardess that might have swung by there. He leaves his mark. At least you say eating buffalo dung helps with your digestion. Thank you very much for that. And I guessed so. I was not very sure, but thank you very much for confirming that to me. And it's true, yes, because of the bacteria maybe that will be in the buffalo dung. Many thanks. So he's still on the move. We are still on the move too. Could get him VM there. Very good. So we'll try and maybe swing by on the right of him and stay on the side and find out what his final destination would be. Jerry, you're asking why does he make that sawing noise that you heard? And number one, that would be, of course, territory marking, but also he would be passing some message to would-be other males around. And I've just gathered from James Henry, his maybe biggest concern now would be hukumuri. So, I mean, leopards are very territorial and most of the males, and that sound or that vocalization would be a clear message to hukumuri, wherever he is. Don't forget, I'm around, and what do you have to say? And maybe wait and hear whether hukumuri will give something back in terms of vocalization. Let's follow our Tingana boy. Child of the universe, how are you today? I've always liked your name. And the smaller cats like Janet's and Civet, not one that I have heard make that like sawing sound of leopards. Maybe they do, maybe they do not. I am not sure, and I would be happy to find out also, as I found out about the leopards eating the buffalo dung. I have no idea, and I haven't heard them, sawing like leopards. Maybe they do, and there child of the universe. I hope you're enjoying this great view of Tingana. Please don't forget to keep sending your questions to us or any comments on Twitter, hashtag Safari Live, or keep following us on the mainstream YouTube as we continue enjoying this great view of this big, nice looking male leopard. I really like his name, Tingana. But what I worry is that Tingana means being shy. I don't think he's shy, eh? All right. He has just gone round Tam and Mound. Let's go around the other side and see whether he's going to come out ahead of us. Angelo, you're asking, do all the leopards have the same pattern? No, they're all different. They are all different. You need to look at them very, very closely to see, but I would say they all got different patterns. I'm thinking he'll come out through here, Angelo, and we're going to look at his pattern, and maybe when you're lucky one of the days, we are going to look at his son, Hosanna, and see whether there could be anything close to their body patterns on the rosettes there, which I would highly doubt. He continues marking territory, scratching himself. Mercy asking, do I think Tingana will be tolerant of his son Hosanna? Well, what would happen as age comes? Hosanna might want to show his dad also he's growing and coming to age, and maybe want to try him out for territory, for competing for territory. I highly doubt that would happen. I highly doubt, and Tingana will still want to, show Hosanna, I'm still your father, I'm in charge here, please keep away from this area. I highly doubt. To me, Tingana looks very, very good, and I don't think he would take any worries from Hosanna. Mercy, don't you think that leopard is huge? Mercy, what do you think? Give me your feeling. What do you think would happen if Tingana would meet Hosanna right now? What do you think would happen? Do you think they would say hello to each other? Do you think Hosanna would say, hi Dad, I've missed you, how have you been? Or do you think they could go for each other, go teething and clawing and like, what the hell, who do you think you are? Mercy, send me your feeling, send me your comment on Twitter as usual, hashtag Safari Live. And we'll have something to compare tonight as we follow this Duke Tingana in the darkness. You're going to watch out, sir. Are you good to go? You're good? All right. VM survived. He has survived so many branches today. We'll follow him. Let's find out what update James got for us now.
Driving aimlessly, flapping the spotlight about ineffectually, and trying to find something of worth. That's what I'm up to. David, yet again, putting me to shame, which is, of course, difficult for me to deal with, given that he's only been doing the job about 3 weeks. He has, of course, got 20 years' experience under his belt, and on account of his general pleasantness, I don't really mind that much. But I really would like to see a cat at this stage. Use the infrared light to see the cats. Follow them on the hunt, like we did Saturday last week with the Nkuhuma Pride, which has since disappeared, unfortunately. But how marvelous to have Tingana back, yelling his head off and proclaiming that the Duke is not yet done. There are some impala up ahead. Now, we also need to decide between us, you and me, and obviously the other presenters, etc. If Tingana is the Duke, what are we going to call Hukumuri? I quite like the fact that we don't have a king leopard. I don't think that would be... For some reason, I don't feel like that would be appropriate. I'm just turning the lights off because we're going past some impalas. And so, what if Tingana is the Duke, what is Hukumuri going to be? The Viscount of Juma? The Earl of the North, perhaps? I quite like Shidulu being counted as the Duchess of the North. Quite like that one. I'm not sure why I came up with that, but I quite like it. Tandi I think, should be the Queen. I think that's what her designation should be. Hukumuri, I don't know. It's like a sort of swashbuckling knight type. The warrior chief. Maybe the warrior chief. It's quite nice, eh? What do you think, everyone? Warrior chief, Hukumuri. Well, yes, W. James, maybe that's a good one. Hukumuri the Conqueror. It's quite nice, got a nice ring to it. Craig, what do you think? Yeah, we should call him Hukumuri the... Gemma, you reckon the Count Hukumuri? I like that one too. I also like that. Count Hukumuri. Battle-scarred Count, the Knight of the West, the Western Knight, the Northern Knight. Inga, you say you want to call him the Black Adder. I can't help. If for those of you who don't know what Inga's talking about, I'm assuming she's talking about Rowan Atkinson's character, the Black Adder. And if you haven't ever watched Rowan Atkinson performing in the 4 series of the Black Adder from somewhere in the late 80s, I think they were made. They are hysterically funny, and you need to go and watch them. I think that Hukumuri has slightly more noble bearing than any of the 4 Black Adder characters. It is the blackest humor you'll ever see. Absolutely side-splitting stuff. But I don't think it suits Hukumuri. Alrighty. Tingana has emerged from his thicket. Let us stop all the silliness and go back to him.
Yeah, Tingana remains top here of the world, and he almost got a Warthog that just came out of that burrow there. It went running, and I do not know what would call Hukumuri if Tingana will be the Duke and Hosana will be the little chief. Well, we may have to go back in the camp and all the guides will sit together and get a good name for Hukumuri. But in the meantime, let's stick with the Duke for this wonderful Tingana boy. Now he's on top of a termite mound there, and I don't know what he's looking at. Sorry, Casey asks how far what? The sowing could do anything, like I would say 3 good kilometers, about 1.5 miles. Yeah, 1.5 miles to 3 or 3 kilometers, depending, on the vocalization and how deep it is. That would determine how far it would go. I would say 3 kilometers or about 1.8 miles. That's how far it could go. Let's just find out where he has gone. He's definitely to be looking for something to eat, and termite mounds are always good hunting grounds for leopards. It could be porcupines in there, could be a mongoose in there, it could be a warthog in there. So let's can you see him? Is he on top there, right on top? 1 minute, we just need to locate I think it's right on top there. What do you think? Yeah. Good job. And he might be waiting there to see what will happen. He's right on top of that termite mound. And that's how we saw a piggy just coming out running for its dear life. So we have seen two close shaves. Initially we saw porcupine, and now we just saw a piggy. Yeah, that hole there. So, sorry about that. That's where the Warthog came out from. And a similar like barrow, we saw a porcupine go in and it could not come out. It knew there was a lot of danger lurking by the door. I can tell you we have moved about 2-3 kilometers with Tingana this evening, and I've known leopards which would go comfortably 20 kilometers in one night, you know, either searching for food or changing locations or territory marking. And that's not, you know, small distance by any standard. I mean, talking of about what, 13, 14 miles in one night, eh? And that normally happens more at night when it's cool. And they'll always have better chances, you know, of getting prey. James Henry want to tell us something.
Yes, here I am, still looking around. I believe there have been a few more names. What are they? Lucas, give them to me now, immediately. P. Hart, you reckon the Black Prince for Hukumuri? Prince Hukumuri I quite like. Not sure that he should be black necessarily. I like Prince Hukumuri. Mario says Jon Snow. Jon Snow Hukumuri. Let's think about Jon Snow. Well, we don't know where he came from, you know. He might be, he's of uncertain ancestry. Hukumuri the what? The girl. The Earl. PBG, BBBGG, PBG says the Earl. Earl Hukumuri. I quite like the Earl. Yes. I think that the Earl is a good one because we have a Duke. Why shouldn't we have an Earl? Not entirely sure what the difference is. Mrs. Lapwing, you are bringing us all back down to earth and saying, how about just the male leopard, Hukumuri the male leopard? Well, yes, I suppose we could just call him Hukumuri the male leopard. Yes, of course. Hukumuri the male leopard. Perfectly reasonable. Wait, I think I spotted a chameleon. Now watch how my stock will plummet when we realize it's a leaf. No, it's a chameleon. Is it? No, it's not. There, you see? Look at that, Craig. Isn't it amazing? It's a leaf. Or a fruit. It's a fruit. It's a large fruit. Fascinating stuff. Good. All right. I think that David, given his performance this afternoon, should have the honor of saying goodbye to you. I will just meekly and quietly disappear. Craig, turn the light off. Into the night. Goodbye.
Yes, stuff start disappearing into the night. I think, James, you're right. I deserve all the honors to open and maybe close our sunset drive today. As you can see up there, the dead tree there, I'm guessing that's maybe Venus planet in the background. And we got our Duke Tingana right on top of that termite mound. And in front of him is just part of the termite mound that makes him blend in so well. Unless you see him move his head, like you see there, you could say those are two parts of that termite mound. Oh, what you can hear now are cicadas. Some frogs from a distance. the busy nocturnal animals coming in. The diurnal ones are giving way. We have had ellies today, lots of antelopes, but I think Tingana has won my heart, and hopefully he'll get some dinner tonight. He had a choice of going for fillet or going for the pork, and I can't thank Tingana enough. And there's one viewer who gave me the name the Tingana Whisperer. I am keeping that name. I'm going to change my documentation and have a new name. And to all of you, thank you very much. Remember to join us tomorrow morning, 6:30 Central Africa time. Goodbye from all of us.